Ladies and gentlemen, we finally get the teaser for next week's mid-month update, and it is, in fact, Mephisto. The flames whisper his name, and the shadows answer. He steps forward, ready to collect the debts long overdue. I mean, whoever wrote this is kind of cooking, at least, you know, in terms of the language. Every bargain has its price. Mephisto has made his return to Marvel Future Fight. Very, very cool. I really do like the little setup there with the little blurb. And then we have the sneak peek. If we go over to the forums before we take a look at the sneak peek, here's what they have to say. This supervillain has always secretly led other beings to their doom through immense power and temptation. I did just emphasize doom, but I don't mean it to imply that there's a reference to Doctor Doom. Master of the Underworld. A powerful native Tier 3 entity has gained even greater strength. That has to be in reference to Tier 4, as well as his new uniform. Look forward to the arrival of Hellfire itself in Marvel Future Fight. Cool little, like, small thing, but obviously Hellfire is also one of his ability tags, and it's his unique ability tag that nobody else has. This is also not the last sneak peek, because we know that the data... Well, we know it's not the last sneak peek because it doesn't say look forward to the patch details yet. And so if we combine that with the knowledge we have from the data mine that implied Mephisto and Hellstorm, then Hellstorm should be teased on Sunday night, so in like 2.5 days from now. We should see the sneak peek for Hellstorm. Just keep in mind, guys, after the Hellstorm sneak peek, actually, also the patch notes, eh? Yeah, okay. I can do the Hellstorm sneak peek and I can do the patch notes, but I won't be around for live content after that because I'm going on a little vacation. So I'll have to make some videos while I'm on vacation, and the quality is going to be a little bit different, and it's not going to look as good. Just a heads up on that, but that'll be like after the Mephisto update comes out. But unfortunately, I won't be able to do a live stream that night for Mephisto because I'll already be gone by then. So just a heads up on that. There'll be a bit of a change, I guess you could say, in the videos after Mephisto comes out for about a week. But there's also some pre-recorded videos in there that I made for you guys, so the quality isn't worse for the whole 2 weeks. As far as the sneak peek itself goes, this is what we can see. Oh, right, it's super loud. I forgot about that. It's actually a pretty good sneak peek. The music's a little cooked, but I think it's intentional. It feels like I'm stroking out, but it's pretty cool. I don't know where the Tier 4 clue is. It might be in those frames when it shows his name. But oh, that's 10 seconds. It might be here. There's like blue blood or something. Yeah, I don't know. If that was supposed to be the Tier 4, it's really hard to tell. It was just some vertical lines, then a bunch of horizontal lines. Otherwise, I don't see where the Tier 4 thing is. As far as the look from Mephisto goes, I have seen a mixed reaction from the community, which I would also echo myself. On the one, so this is like a suit and tie kind of Mephisto. On the one hand, I'm not a big fan of this look, and I'll get into the details of why, and it relates to his existing character model and what we expect it to be able to do visually and sort of functionally. But the counterpoint to that is what other uniform? And that's a really fair counterpoint. Mephisto doesn't really have a lot of other looks in the comics, in any other thing. Like, I guess you have this version with the bone armor that I don't even know if it's I'm not that familiar with Mephisto, to be honest. I don't know if this is actually more unique to Contest of Champions. I know this is in Contest of Champions, but in almost all other iterations, he's just, you know, displayed, he's shown the way that we already see him in game, which is like this. Now, I guess the one difference is they could make the loincloth and the boots and the jacket, or the cape, the same color as his as his skin. That's pretty much the only thing. Or I guess they could turn it into hair if they wanted to make him look more like a goat, or like a, you know, I guess he looks more like a goat here. But yeah, otherwise, I do have to say he just doesn't have a lot of looks. So that's fair. That's fair. It kind of is what it is. He looks like Dr. Voodoo there almost. Yeah, so I can understand why the devs went with probably his only other look that people are familiar with, which is him in a suit. So that's that makes sense, as much as I'm not the biggest fan of it. Now, why I'm not the biggest fan of it personally, although he does look really creepy, by the way. He does look super creepy, and that is a big plus and a big kind of sell, and almost like a foundational character requirement. Like, Mephisto's supposed to look and feel creepy as hell. But the issue that I have is, or the worry that I have is that it's just going to disconnect. That's great. But no, the worry that I have is that he's not going to transform. And the reason why, it's just because he's wearing a suit, right? So obviously this is a bit of a silly, like, it sounds silly. Why can't he transform just because he's wearing a suit, Alex? I guess it just boils down to me not imagining it. I have heard this from a couple of other people, but it's possible that he'll just transform, right? Like in this situation here, he just transforms. Now in this transformation, he keeps the loincloth and the cape, so they may have to ditch this one, or they will have to like make an even bigger suit. I don't know. It may just look odd. I don't know. It may not look odd. I don't know. But then with the tier 3, I think it's gonna be fine. For the tier 3, I think it's fine because he ditches the look anyways. He ditches like all that stuff. So I think it'll be fine for the tier 3. But I'm mostly concerned about, is he just going to look like a Mephisto in a bigger suit, like Kingpin, when he's transformed? And maybe he will. I don't know. He can also transform back. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But that's basically the biggest concern that I have, is that he's not going to transform. I really hope he transforms because it's a big part of his character's kit. And I think that it's a bit dicey for the devs on this one. I think they're at their last straw, if you want to put it that way, where if Mephisto is bad, we've had a lot of bad characters this year. If Mephisto is bad, I think players are going to riot, rightfully so. I think possibly, you know, the B word is going to get thrown around, and I wouldn't blame players. Absolutely would not blame players. I myself might throw the B word around publicly if Mephisto is bad, because this is one of like the cardinal contracts that they haven't broken yet. And you could argue that this cardinal contract about expensive character equals good, it hasn't really been broken this year. I know a lot of you are going to say, well, what about Shalabal, Alex? Yep, Shalabal probably cracked that agreement between players and devs that if the character is expensive, they have to be good. The only thing with Shalabal that I would say is Adam Warlock was pretty bad when he came out. He wasn't genuinely that good, that dominant, until he started getting uniforms and they started cooking with his kit. He was actually quite bad when he first came out. He was quite bad. One of the only things that he was good for at all was that he was immune to time freeze or some shit like that. I don't know. I can't remember exactly what it was, but yeah, is that he had the time freeze immunity tag. That was like his big shtick, and it was like, man, we're paying 6,000 crystals for that crap. And then he had the one stage of dispatch. So I'm not saying that I think Mephisto should be bad. I'm not saying that he will be bad. I'm just saying that I think for the most part, players are, you know, developing the understanding that if the character is expensive, particularly if they're getting a tier 4, if they're getting a uniform, that they're going to perform well. And we've actually seen that this year and last year for the most part, right? They gave Wolverine a really good rework. They gave Doctor Strange a really good rework. They gave Deadpool a really good rework. All of those characters are native tier 2s, Epic Quest characters. They gave Thanos multiple good reworks. Obviously, they gave Null an insane rework. They gave Sentry 2 insane reworks. Sentry had fallen out of the meta, right? They gave him an insane rework last year, and then they followed it up this year with another solid rework after some consideration. They gave Gladiator an insane rework and made him really good. But there have been fall-offs along the way, right? They did not cook for Doctor Doom. They did not really cook for Apocalypse. They did not cook for Mr. Fantastic. So there is a possibility that they break this contract with a native tier 3. That I think would be like a bridge too far. I don't think I can really accept it at that point if they make Mephisto bad. But I don't think they'll make Mephisto bad. I don't want to be all like doom and gloom in the video. I do think Mephisto will be good. My expectations for him are that he's going to be a hybrid god, similar to Null. I think he certainly needs to have, particularly because he has no supports. he needs to be very, very strong. He needs to be like almost Sentry level on his own. And you can read into that the way you want. Maybe he's on Sentry's level for PvE or for PvP, or he's a little bit worse, that 5% worse than Sentry for PvP, and then 10%, 20% better than Sentry for PvE. But the issue here is Mephisto has no team up collection. He has no unique tags that have any buffs. And this is going to lead into my next point about Hellstorm. So Hellstorm has quite a lot of connection to Mephisto in the comics, so does Satana. And I think what they may do for Hellstorm is they may develop kind of an Agent Venom kind of relationship. Now, they can't do it in the exact same way because Hellstorm already has an artifact. So that's kind of, you can't fit like one-to-one do it. But I think what they'll do with his newest uniform is because that's so bad, right? Some of his passives are hilariously bad because this character's from 2016 or it was with the Doctor Strange update. This character is old as tits. Like, we're talking 11 years old, basically. That's not 11 years old, 9 years old. That's crazy still. But I think what they'll do is they will make him have a Hellfire support. They'll probably give him the Hellfire tag, and then they will also give him a Hellfire support, and then that will be specifically for Mephisto for specific PvP content. Now, they're going to need, maybe for PvE content, we don't know, right? But then if it's for PvE content, they would have to make Hellstorm a villain as well. And it would actually be pretty tricky, and it wouldn't really work because he's a Universal and Mephisto's Blast, unless they turned Mephisto Blast. Or sorry, unless they turned Hellstorm Blast, so they turned Mephisto Universal. So I'm thinking it's more of a PvP thing, but I do think they're going to make Hellstorm a support for Mephisto and just make him like Agent Venom on steroids, chain hit damage reduction when hit, increased damage to enemies above 50 or below 50% HP, damage reduction, all this kind of stuff, so that you can pair them together in PvP to make Mephisto dominant, right? I mean, and I still think Mephisto should be good in PvP. At the very least, he should slot into the 3rd position. I think that is fair. He should immediately counter Silver Surfer and Adam Warlock, because here's the thing, like, logically, Mephisto coming out, 2 years after Adam Warlock, and he's native tier 3, Mephisto has to be better than Adam Warlock for the same content, right? It just doesn't matter. Like, if he's not better than Adam Warlock for the same content, then what are we talking about here, right? So Mephisto has to beat Adam, who's probably the 4th strongest character in PvP right now. And then the reason why I say he has to be 3rd, which means he has to take Silver Surfer, because Silver Surfer beats Adam. He has to take Silver Surfer, on Always, by the way, because of the reflect reduction. I actually forgot about this until I recently re-reviewed the character, but along with 40% damage reduction, he has a 70% reflect reduction, just flat 70%. So if you pair Mephisto with a Black Knight or a Chavez, he's taking 110% less reflect damage. Yeah, which is crazy. So he should be able to clap Silver Surfer, because he's neutralizing the biggest part of Silver Surfer's kit, which is the reflect. So that means that his only challenges will then be Sentry and Null. I think if they at least make him firmly a top 3 pick, like a firm top 3 character for PvP, and then they also make him, almost as good as Doctor Strange, let's say, for PvE, then they've done well. That's really the part that scares me, though, is there's already really good characters in the game for all of the positions he would play, whether it's Blast Male Villain, which Doctor Strange is currently occupying, or it's PvP with Null and Sentry as the incumbent native tier 3s, right? Mephisto has to measure up to Null, Sentry, and Doctor Strange Zombie. That's a really hard thing to do, and although Sentry was released this year, Null and Doctor Strange were both released last year. I could be foolish saying this, but are the devs that made those uniforms and those reworks for Doctor Strange and Null, are they still around? Have those devs left us? Because if we look at the quality of reworks since then, they have not been very good. So my worry is that the devs that made the not so good reworks will come in and do, give us some sloppy seconds on Mephisto. And then we're kind of screwed, and then the B word starts getting thrown around, and, shit gets real. So, yeah, that's kind of my prediction. That's my theory for Mephisto and for Hellstorm. Hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of the sneak peek. Did you find the tier 4 clue or not? Thank you so Oh, I saw it. I just saw it. Oh my god, I'm not trolling. I'm not trolling. I'm not trolling. I just saw it. I just saw it. It's right here. It's right here. This is so funny. You know when you are doing like a puzzle or something and you can't figure it out? It could be even like a crossword or Wordle or whatever, and you're just like staring at it for what feels like hours, but it's like 5-10 minutes, and you cannot figure out what to do next. You don't know what the next clue is. It could be even Sudoku, and then you just leave it. There's a psychological or there's like a neurological explanation for this, but you basically leave it and you focus your brain somewhere else temporarily. You go and like do the dishes for a little bit, or you go and like play a little bit of tennis or whatever, and you come back and you look at it again with like a fresh brain, and your brain is able to basically like decode everything you've already seen, ignore it, and just focus on the thing you haven't seen yet that's like new information. And then boom, you can just figure it out really, really fast. And the thing was all like the answer was already there in your brain. It's just your brain was like clogged up with these layers and layers of like, oh well, the tier 4 symbol's not here, and it's not here, and it's not in the images. Like your brain had already committed to these lines of thinking, so it didn't have room for more. You kind of like hit your bandwidth, your RAM limit, and then you come back to it. It's right there. It's right there. Those sneaky bastards. That's so good. Tier 4 teams, sorry, sneak peek teams cooking. Anyways, boys, thanks for watching the video. Smash the like button for the content. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.